What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Lil Maguizy channel. Today, we begin Chapter 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we take a look at a soldier with a shield fighting with a man in a metal suit. Let's do it, shall we? Captain America Civil War, starring Chris Evans as Steve Rogers Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes / Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson the Falcon, Don Cheadle as James Rose War Machine, Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton Hawkeye, Chadwick Boseman R.I.P. as T'Challa Black Panther, Paul Bettany as The Vision, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff / Scarlet Witch, Paul Rudd as Scott Lang / Ant-Man, Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, with William Hurt, hey, R.I.P., he's back, as Thaddeus Ross, and Daniel Bruhl as Zemo. Fucking hell, how many people was that? Anyway, so this shit starts off in Siberia in 1991, where Bucky just got done being frozen and he gets brainwashed and he is sent out to murder some people, where we'll find out more about that later. Present day, Cap, Falcon, Wanda, and Natasha, they're in like a mission in Lagos or something, I don't know how you pronounce it, where they take a look, where they deal with Rumlow from the Winter Soldier, except he's Crossbones this time. They deal with him, and Captain America finds him, and then he's like, Bucky's still alive, he remembers you. And then he's like, what'd you say? And then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna die now and you're coming with me. And then he detonates the bomb, but then Wanda uses her magical powers to lift him up and throw him inside a building, and he explodes and dies along with a bunch of other people. Yeah, this just got deep real quick. Anyway, so Tony Stark is showing off this hologram of his parents, where he wishes that what it would have been like if he knew they were gonna die. And then after the show, he goes and talks to this woman who tells him about a child that died in Sokovia back in Age of Ultron, and she blames him. Meanwhile, back in the Avengers headquarters, Cap watches the TV and the news about the whole Lagos thing, and then he goes into Wanda's room and she's watching the same thing, and then he has a wee talk with her about it, and then Vision comes in from the wall and is like, Secretary of State's here. And so they're all just sitting down there watching, they're all just sitting down there listening to the Secretary of State, Secretary Ross, and Tony Stark's there for some reason. And so he thinks that the Avengers should be put in check and gives him the Sokovia Accords. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, some guy called Zemo breaks into an old general's house and murders him by hanging him under the sink and flooding him with the sink and the water. So anyway, Rhodey and Sam are arguing in the background while Cap is looking at that. And then Tony agrees with him, and Cap's like, yeah, I don't think we should be doing this. We should just live on our own free will. And Tony's like, come on, we have to do this. We have to sign the Accords. And then Cap gets a text from someone saying she's gone in her sleep, and then it turns out that's Peggy. So Peggy dies, so he and Sam, for some reason, is at the funeral, and the guy's like, I'd like to have Sharon Carter come up and say a few words. And it turns out it's Agent 13. So Cap probably banged his ex-girlfriend's niece. So meanwhile, in the UN, Natasha is there and she meets T'Challa, and T'Challa's dad, and T'Challa's dad is making a speech, and then the building explodes and T'Challa's dad dies, and T'Challa thinks it's Bucky, the Winter Soldier, and so he goes and like Don't bother Miss Romanoff. I'll kill him myself. And so Cap is just inside Bucky's apartment for some reason, and then Bucky's there, and it's like, so he remembers him, and there's people coming for him, so they get that done, and so Bucky runs, and Black Panther decides to go and attack him by chasing him, and then Cap chases him, because he just can't leave him alone. Like, stop being such an overprotective friend. It's good that you're sticking up for him and looking out for him and all, but you're doing a bit too much. Leave the man be. Let him do shit himself for once. Yeah. And so then they get arrested. So basically Cap, T'Challa, Bucky, and Sam get arrested. And so they go to this prison where they meet Martin Freeman and Agent 13. And so it's not really like a prison, it's more like a thing. I don't know how you explain it. And so Tony is talking to Steve, and they're arguing about the fact that Wanda is danger to others, and then Cap's like, look, she's a kid. And then, Tony snaps, and then I think that's the end of them being mates. So meanwhile, Wanda and Vision are just sitting down in the Avengers place, just chilling. And then Wanda decides to go to this shop, and she'll be back in 20 minutes, but then Vision doesn't let her, because she, and I quote, Mr. Stark would likely avoid the possibility of another public incident. And then Bucky is inside this box cell because he's the Winter Soldier. And then Zemo is talking all gibberish. He's saying the spell that made him turn into the Winter Soldier in the first place. And that works. Bucky escapes, beats the hell out of Sam, Agent 13, Tony, Natasha, and T'Challa. And then Cap runs and tries to get him, and then he takes off in this helicopter, and Cap just grabs the helicopter and just flexes his biceps as hard as he can. And so then they fall in the ocean. Well, not the ocean, they just fall in a random lake. So meanwhile, Tony has a plan, and then he goes to Queens. New York, Queens. He's going to Queens, boy. He's going to Queens. Then meets this guy called Peter Parker, who decides to recruit him for Germany, and then he's gonna tell Aunt Hottie, because fucking hell, Aunt May is hot in this. I'm sorry. And then, they go to Germany, and then Cap and Bucky and Sam, they get their shit back. And then, meanwhile, back in the Avengers place, Wanda and Vision just stay there, and then Clint Barton, Hawkeye, comes, and then Wanda's like, what are you doing here? And then Vision's like, Clint, you can't show up here. And then, Vision attacks Clint, and then Wanda had enough, and then attacks Vision, throws him down to the ground. So basically, moral of the story is that, meanwhile, Cap, Bucky, and Sam are just sitting down there in like an airport, while Clint and Wanda comes, and then they open the back, and Scott Lang is there too. And so they suit up, and then Captain walks up, and then Iron Man and War Machine show up, and then Black Panther shows up, and Black Widow shows up, and then Spider-Man shows up and takes a shield. And then Ant-Man comes and goes up to regular size and kicks Spider-Man and gives him his shield back, and they all start attacking each other. And then meanwhile, Team Cap go together, and they find the jet they need, and then a laser. Vision comes, and then joins Iron Man. So basically, it's Team Captain America. Captain America, Bucky, Falcon, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch. And Team Iron Man is Iron Man, Black Widow, War Machine, Black Panther, Vision, and Spider-Man. So they all start attacking each other. Blah blah blah. Ant-Man becomes giant. Cap and Bucky find the Quinjet they need and escape. And Black Widow tases Black Panther. She decides to flip-flop and go to Cap's side. And then T'Challa touts on her to Ross. Yeah, so basically Cap and Bucky go in the Quinjet, and then Vision and Wanda are having a moment. And then Falcon is chasing down War Machine, and then Vision tries to shoot Falcon, but then Falcon avoids it, and it hits War Machine. War Machine falls down to the ground and gets paralyzed. And then eventually Scott, Wanda, Clint, and Sam, they all get arrested. And so meanwhile, Tony finds out what actually happened to T'Challa's dad, where Zemo is the one that murdered them. And so he goes to Siberia and sees Bucky and Cap. And then Bucky and Cap and Tony, they go and search for stuff. And then Zemo comes and is like, I want to show you this video. And then he sees the video, and it turns out Tony's parents were murdered by Bucky when he was in his Winter Soldier phase. And so Tony tries to kill Bucky. Tony has a full-out scrap with Cap and Bucky. And meanwhile, T'Challa apprehends Zemo. And so meanwhile, Cap and Bucky are having a scrap, and then Iron Man blasts Bucky's metal arm off. And then Cap is like, I could do this all day, and then he does that, and then Captain America lifts Iron Man, beats the living hell out of him. He beats the living hell out of him so much, his helmet flies off him, and there's blood all over his face. And he gets a shield, and Tony thinks he's gonna put it in his face, but he's just gonna throw it at his arc reactor. And then, so his suit is powered down, so Iron Man's just lying there now. Cap takes the shield, and he takes Bucky, and then Tony's like, that shield doesn't belong to you, you don't deserve it. My father made that shield. And then Cap ditches the shield. Meanwhile, Martin Freeman, his name is Everett Ross in this, he has Zemo in the same cell that Bucky was in earlier on. And then Tony comes, somehow, I don't know how he managed to get out of there, and he takes Rhodey, who's paralyzed now, and then he explains to Tony why he signed the Accords, and meanwhile Vision is just sitting there. And so Tony gets a package, and it's just a phone, and then Tony gets a voice message from Steve, and he's like, if you need anything, I'll be there. And then he's like, you know, everything's all good, we're all good, if you need anything, I'll be there. By the way, I'm breaking my friends out of jail. So basically, he breaks out Sam, Scott, Wanda, and Clint, and boom, that's it. After credit scene time, Bucky and Cap are in Wakanda. T'Challa's home, and then Bucky gets frozen to try and get this Winter Solderness out of him. So he's frozen, and then Cap and T'Challa are looking out the window being like, you know, if they find out he's here, they'll come for him. And then T'Challa's like, let them try. Other after credit scene, Peter Parker is just sitting there, and he has this new thingy thing where he lights it up and Spider-Man's face shows up, and then a text says Spider-Man will return, and that's it. Also, the credits is like a bunch of cracked ground, and the silhouettes of all the characters show up. Overall thoughts, it's fucking good. It's dope. It's really good. That's all I can say. It's really fucking good. Yeah. I'll see you next time, where we take a look at a man who messes up his hands and becomes a wizard. Goodbye.